Do you consider yourself a Revit master? Or do you consider yourself as someone who just doesn't want help in Revit? You don't want Autodesk's help. Well, if you're like me, you don't want Autodesk's help. They're mostly not helpful. So we're, in this video, going to help you not get help from Autodesk. Now, how might we do that? We're going to do that by disabling the F1 key in Revit. I can't tell you how many times I've hit it. Let me tell you how a typical day in Revit goes for me. I did not mean to hit the trim tool. I did not want to hit the trim tool. So what the heck can we do about this? Like I said in the beginning, I don't need help in Revit, not this kind of help. I didn't ask for Autodesk help, but the problem is that the F1 key got in the way of me hitting escape. And I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to you. So in this video, we're going to cover how to disable that from happening, to where when you press F1, nothing happens. What happens is nothing, and so you can simply move your misplaced finger from the F1 key to the escape key like you properly want to get rid of the trim tool in this case. Hitting escape now does bring me back to the regular mouse. Also, the MD or modify does work as well, but escape is the quickest way to do that. That is set up by default. So how might we do this? Well, there's a couple of ways. The first way is going to be a bit of a harder way, and by hard I mean system-wide. It's going to simply remove the function of F1 from your computer, the ability to use F1. Now, I do want to say I was hesitant to first do this because in other applications, maybe I actually need the F1. Now, clearly, we don't want it in Revit, and maybe you don't want it in Windows. Maybe you don't want it in Chrome or some Internet Explorer where it takes you to a help menu. Well, this harder way will deal with that first. And I've got a couple of ways. First way is that more hard way that's going to actually take care of that system-wide for you. The second way is through, if you have a specific keyboard, a keyboard that you can change the functions of the keys. So in a sense, either one of these is going to take care of the same thing, but let's first look at the option one. Option one is going to be using a program called SmartKeys, and I will have a link in the description to this below. And it's as simple as installing this MSI. It's very simple. So what does this look like? When you first run SmartKeys, this is what you'll see. And the idea is that you take a key on your keyboard, which is on the from side, and to this side, which means we need to actually do something. We need to add something. So here's an add button. I'm going to hit add. And there's obviously an immense number of keys that you can choose and an immense number of functions and different things that you can have those do, which is kind of cool. You can play with those if you want. But for the sake of this video, we just want to remove that F1's functionality. So instead of going through the trouble of finding this here, I'm just going to type a key. And so it says press a key. I will hit F1, and you can see there's function F1, and there's the code that goes along with it. I'll hit OK. And then I want to determine what I want to do with it. Well, we simply want to turn it off, and it says turn key off here. So all we need to do is just leave that selected. Turn key off. That's great. And so when I hit OK, I could see from function F1, so there's my F1 key, to turn it off. So it's just not going to be functioning anymore. And so at this point, all I need to do is write to registry. And what this will do is edit your registry automatically for you in a way to where this key is now disabled throughout Windows, which is really nice. And I'm going to actually write this, and you can see key mappings have been successfully stored to the registry. Please log out or reboot for these changes to take effect. So I'll hit OK. Great. I'm now going to restart my computer. I will then spam F1 again, and we can see what happens. I have now restarted my computer, and I'm now going to spam my F1 button, and let's see what happens. Absolutely nothing. Just absolutely nothing at all. And I don't have to worry about it at all. I can just simply hit escape. If I'm trying to trim and I hit F1, nothing is happening at all. I can hit escape. I don't have anything to worry about anymore. And so why do we have to go to all this trouble? And you might originally think, oh, there are shortcuts in Revit. Why don't we just change that? Well, that was my first thought too. So let's actually go to the View tab here, User Interface, and then Keyboard Shortcuts. You can find this in the options as well. So there's an immense number of shortcuts. You can make your own, import your own, export them, whatever you want to do. But we unfortunately can't change the help. So if I type in help here, if we're just looking for help, in this case we're actually looking for help, we see help right here, and it's assigned to the shortcut FN1 or function 1, and the path is help. And you can see that it's grayed out, and it's grayed out because it's something that is considered to be a reserved keyboard shortcut. And the fact that it's reserved means that it's in a way a Windows or a system-wide type of shortcut, to where it's sort of baked into the program and we can't change it. Because if you look at this like show help tooltip, we can actually change this to anything else, from HT to anything else. That's great. Now we don't have that functionality with this particular help or the function 1 key, because it's just built into Revit, built into Windows. But through this registry update, through that program and SmartKeys, we're actually able to, this is still going to tell you F1, but it's no longer going to be functioning, which is perfect. So at this point, that was option 1. Now, moving on to option 2, this is only going to be applicable to those who have particular keyboards, and you will not have to use the SmartKeys program at all if you want to simply disable your F1 key. Now, I happen to have a particular keyboard that will allow me to do this. And if I look at it here, it's a Corsair keyboard. It's the K95, and I'm actually able to come into the actions and literally assign any single command for any single key on my entire keyboard. It doesn't matter what it happens to be, and of course you can make it colorful and do whatever. It's got some extra function keys here that you simply can add extra macros, functions, whatever you want to be to that. But in this case, I simply want to add a new command and then hover over and click the F1 key, and I can see that my new command is there, and I want to change that from a macro to disable. Disable the key. That's as simple as it is. I simply disabled that. Now, I would be hesitant to do this just because you might want to use an F1 key in another program, whereas using the SmartKeys method will actually change that in the registry for system-based and not necessarily third-party. Like, it might be games or anything that other programs that might use an F1 to actually function, whereas the normal Windows and system, the SmartKeys will deal with that from a registry standpoint, whereas this is going to just hard disable the key. Now, of course, you may not have this keyboard. Logitech has a bunch of other keyboards that have this functionality, but the same applies to any keyboard that you can map your keys and change your keys. This is doing it from a hardware standpoint as opposed to a software standpoint. So that's kind of the thing to be aware of as well. If you want to do it a hardware versus a software, the options there are just the same. I sure hope that was helpful. I mean, like you, I've had this problem before. I've hit F1 so many times. It's always in the way. Because I have a mechanical keyboard, I could just simply remove that button, just pull it right out if I wanted to. But, I want things to function normally. So if you enjoyed this video, and if you happen to learn something, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, demolishing that like button, it really helps me out and tells me that you did learn something and that you might have enjoyed it. Also, please consider changing the phase of that subscribe button to existing. That also helps me out so much. Just another quick tip when it comes to Revit, and something that I find just extremely annoying. I sure hope this helped you out. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.